This is how to create your brochure layout using the template from the website. I've downloaded the template from the uh, assignment page, and what I'm going to do now, first of all, there's a big problem with Illustrator and multi-page PDFs, and that is that you can only open one page at a time in Illustrator. So the problem is that when you try to place the elements on double pages on one document, it's very hard to pinpoint the right page. So I'm going to show you the best way to go about this. First thing I'm going to do is create a new document. And my settings are this: number of artboards 2. I need to have it in a row setting. My size letter, and by the way, profile, I'm going to do print. And the reason why is because I want to make sure that the color mode is CMYK. Again, kind of changed my artboard number there. So number 2 artboards. Spacing is up to you. Letter size, I'm going to do inches. Make sure it's horizontal aspect, and then the bleed is a eighth of an inch, and so I'm just going to click that up button. 1.125 inches is an eighth of an inch. So that should be all my settings there, and I'm going to click OK. And you should get something that looks like this. Now, what I could do is I could go File, Place, and get the PDF file, and what it's going to do is it's going to place the page that was last imported. So it's really hard to control which page you're going to get. So here's what I recommend that you do. I would do File, Open, navigate to the where you downloaded the template. So PCF_11 by 8.5 brochure. Click on that. This is the dialog you want. And so this is how you can control which page is actually going to open. So I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to click OK again. Now the problem is that if you tried to open it again and selected page 2, it would only open to this page again. It's kind of weird like that. So what you have to do, first of all, make sure it's the right page. So the way I determine it is I'm looking for front flat panel. That's your number 1 page, because they both look very similar, but they're slightly different. I'm going to copy that, select it all, copy it, and then I'm going to paste it into the document that I just created. And I'm going to line it up as best I can. Now, you want to line it up now when it's all selected, and I even go in real close just to make it perfectly aligned like that. So that's my bleed area, and the document edge is this fuchsia dotted line there. Make sure that's as close as you can. Command 0 to go back out to full size. Now I got to deal with page 2. And notice that I've got a little bit of an overlap here, and that's the reason why you've got to have these documents placed exactly from the get-go, because if you lose your selection, then you got to select them all and you start selecting things you don't want to select and all that. So I'm going to close that. I'm going to do it again, File, Open, and by the way, I wanted to reiterate, I closed that other file, the template file that I originally opened, because if I go and I open it again and it's closed, I'm going to get the same dialog box. This is the one that you want. So if I left the other one open, it would not open. It would just say, hey, it's already open. So you don't get this dialog box. So this time I'm going to click 2 of 2. And I know this is right because it says inside left panel. So you know these are right. If you get these off, then your brochure is going to be off. So this step is really crucial. Go ahead, select them all. I'm just going to zoom out. Oops, sorry, wrong one. Just zoom out a couple steps here. And then paste. Again, everything is selected, and I've got to position it perfectly right off the bat. So, because again, everything is all selected, and I lose that if I don't do this right off the bat. Okay, Command 0 again, back in place. Now I've got my template set up. And if you want to, you can go to your Layers panel, name that template, and then go to your flyout menu and choose template. That locks that layer and so forth. The next layer I'm going to do is my guides layer. And this is where I'm going to pull out the guides from the ruler. So open your rulers, Command R, Control R. Click into the ruler area and then just pull them out right to the bleed, to the edge area, so that you can see where the bleeds are. If I close my layer, if I turn off the eyeball, then I'll see I have that turquoise guide layer there. Okay. Pull it to the way over to the other side. You got to have Smart Guides open so it snaps in place. And then I'm going to pull from the top down and then pull to the very bottom. That. So again, I have guides around. You'll need this because if you've got any kind of bleed over, you won't see that 1/8 of an inch setting there, and it's hard to see what your actual borders are. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out. My horizontal guides are set for both documents because it goes all the way across. That's why I did side by side like that. These borders, the vertical ones, I'm going to do my little quick trick here where I Command X or cut them, go to Edit, paste on all artboards, and now I've got all my edge markers set in my guides. Again, I'm going to turn that off just so you can see that. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my guides in here, just pull them over to the middle dotted lines like that. Again, I've got snapping on, so those should be pretty close. If I zoom in really close, you should have the turquoise guides kind of overlapping, cutting down the center of those two dotted lines. Now I'm going to do something just to test this a little bit. I'm going to select both of these guides, Command X, and then do my Edit, paste on all artboards. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to make sure these are offset on the second file. If they're both the same, then you're not right. Notice I've got this little bit of an offset. That means that I've got the two different templates over it. So I'm just going to select these two on this page and then just arrow key them over like that. So I should have that. Turn that off and now you'll see that I have guides on both sides like that. This is personally the way I like to work now, is to have my template layer off and have it on only when I need it so that it's not in the way. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer and I'm going to call this the fold layer. And what I'm going to do with the fold is this is going to be something that will not be printed. So I'm going to click my line segment tool. I'm going to click my stroke and I'm going to choose, actually I'm going to go up here and choose some kind of really standout color, like lime would be good. And what I'm going to do with this now on this layer is I'm just going to click, hold the shift key down and drag that down all the way to the bottom like that, so it's directly on the guide. Repeat again on this side. I can extend this all the way out to the bleed. And I'm going to keep on doing this. Oops. Now I already noticed I did something wrong. I had it on my guides layer. So I'm going to have to, and that's going to be really hard to get, so I'm just going to Command Z again. Make sure you pick the right layer. Just to be on the safe side, I'm going to lock my guide layer. Okay, so I've got, I redid that again, and then I'm going to go over to the second page and do it from that second page as well. Can't copy and paste in artboard for these because they are not the same. I'm even overshooting it a little bit here. Okay, just to make sure, I'm going to turn everything off so I see nothing but those lines. These are not guides, these are strokes done with the line segment tool. These are for printers, but you don't want them to be printed, because the last thing you want to do is have them print these god-awful green fold marks. So what you do to make sure that they're not printed, select a layer, go to the layer flyout menu, and go to options, and you'll see the layer name there, and make sure you uncheck print. This is kind of one of those hidden things that it's hard to remember, but you've got to make sure you uncheck that. And then by naming the layer too, your printer will know what that means. So now you've got your fold marks. On the guide layer again, I'm going to lock the fold layer again. On the guide layer again, you may want to do something like this, where you take the rectangle tool, keep the stroke on, and then select these gray boxes. The gray boxes represent the content area. Any important content, like text and everything, should be within this area here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do object, and we are going to do, sorry, I did this wrong. It's view, guides, make guides. Okay, so again, I'm going to turn the template off. Make sure I deselect that. And now I've got that turquoise guide layer. So this will help you set up for the brochure content area. You don't really want to do any type of important content outside of that area. And you can do that for each one of these. But this should get you a pretty good layout to work with. Make sure you communicate to the printer that you do have a fold layer in there, if they need it, and so forth. These numbers, 3.0625 inches, may or may not be right depending upon the type of paper you're using too. So if you're using a thicker stock paper, you might want to check with your printer and determine if this is correct, and you might have to get a slightly different measurement on that. So, you know, again, I can't say this enough: make good friends with your printer.